Can I just
Yeah.
give one, pass it around, and if there's extras?
Sure.
They're ready to go. Good morning. For the record, I'm Danny Smyth, SMYTH. I'm the chief here in the Winnipeg Police Service. So my purpose today is to provide an updated information on the homicide that occurred Friday afternoon on Graham Avenue, and also to provide some context about how the Criminal Justice Act restricts how we talk about this and what we can say publicly about this case going forward right now. As you know, the victim in this homicide investigation is a 14-year-old Indigenous girl. She was attacked and stabbed on Graham between 4th and Gary near a busy bus stop and a coffee shop. The suspect fled from the scene shortly after the attack. Now, General Patrol and Foot Patrol officers were nearby and rushed to her assistance. They rendered emergency first aid to her at the scene there and did their best really to control the bleeding while attending to her wounds. She was never alone. She was never left alone. Our officers stayed with her. And one of our officers stayed with her in the ambulance while she was rushed to hospital. He was present when the medical staff treated her in a nearby operating room, but they were unable to save her, and she succumbed to her injuries later in the afternoon. Now, we're not identifying the victim today, although there's a pretty good chance her name is out and about on various media platforms even today. The Youth Criminal Justice Act prevents us from identifying victims and suspects who are youth. So we know the victim was with a group of other young people shortly before she was attacked. One of the young people she was with suddenly turned on her and stabbed her. It is possible that the attacker and the other witnesses are also youths. So again, we're cautious about how we talk about this. We are currently looking for a male suspect and 2 other young female witnesses that the victim was with before the attack. It's really all I have to share with you right now. Again, I have to be cautious about how we respond to questions, but that's kind of the status of where we're at right now. So with that, if there are some questions, we'll do our best.
Any reason you said one turned on her and attacked her?
Well, until we find the person, we won't know why.
You were very careful to say the 2 other females you described them as witnesses. Is there any reason to believe that they may have had a part in this in terms of criminality?
So they're certainly together. We'll leave it up to the investigators to determine what information they may have when they're spoken to.
Where exactly did it happen? In front of the building, behind the building?
So it was on Graham Avenue itself. If you're familiar with the Cargill building, there's a Tim Hortons in the corner. It was kind of out front.
So near that bus stop?
Near the bus stop, yes.
Did it appear, was there any fight that happened before the stabbing took place, or?
You know, I don't believe there was a fight. From what I understand, it was a pretty sudden turn of events there. And again, until the investigators bring these people in to speak with them, you know, I don't know the context of why it turned that way.
Was this group inside the coffee shop before this happened?
You know, I'm led to believe they may have been. Again, you know, the investigators will have canvassed and spoken to a number of witnesses in and around that area.
This is, a few things have happened there this year. There was a homicide in that same area in June, some robberies, some students from India were attacked near that corner. Are there any plans, or is there anything that can be done in terms of increasing any kind of presence or security in the area? It is only about a block away from police headquarters.
Sure.
So
So I think it was important to give you some context today, so this wasn't something that I consider to be random. Having said that, anytime there's violence or in this case a homicide, it's concerning to us. As you know, we have increased our presence, and I think that was important. And although we weren't able to prevent this particular case, our members were right there to provide assistance and render first aid within moments of impact. So our presence is out there. It is making a difference in a number of different areas within the city.
How quickly were officers there? Like seconds?
I don't know exactly, but it was certainly, they were the ones that rendered first aid to her, so that's how quick they were there.
And any bystanders? Did anybody come to her aid, or was it so fast that police were there?
I don't think any bystanders were able to come to her aid.
At the last police board meeting, you talked about this to do with the protests, and it sounded like some of the foot patrol people were being reassigned for that. Did that play any part in this, as in perhaps overstretching the foot patrol? Or?
I don't believe it played any part in the event on Saturday. As I said, General Patrol and Foot Patrol officers were there right away.
You say that you increase the presence of the police. Could you give us more details about that?
So we made a commitment to double up our Foot Patrol presence in the downtown area. That will take some time to recruit additional resources. But in the interim, we have been assigning some of our community support units to augment the existing Foot Patrol officer downtown.
Is this enough?
I think we could use more, and we hope to increase our presence there. Over time, I guess it will tell.
This is quite a scary situation. What could we say to parents right now?
Well, again, I think I've provided you some context here so that you can, report on what we were dealing with here. This wasn't an active shooter or somebody running around randomly attacking someone. So a little bit of context. We don't know exactly why it turned that way. I hope that in the not too distant future we'll have a little bit more information.
And do you believe the suspect and the two witnesses are a similar age group to the victim?
Yeah, I would say they're all in the same range. That's why we're being very cautious. There's a good chance they're youths as well.
And I know you won't be able to give us the identities, but do investigators know the identities of the suspect and the two female youths?
So that's what they're pursuing right now.
But as the chief of the police, would you allow your teenage girl to go in the city center right now in this situation?
Yes, my teenage daughter actually works downtown and is a server at a restaurant downtown, so the answer is yes.
Did the victim live in Winnipeg?
Yes.
And was she always from here, or?
I don't know how long she has lived here. Of course, she was 14 years old, but she was residing here in Winnipeg.
Was she involved with the CFS at all, or?
So the only thing I know for sure on that is the young girl's been reported missing on a number of occasions, so a missing person report. So police have definitely assisted in locating her and safely returning her to caregivers in the past. I would say though that on Saturday she wasn't reported as missing, so that's been some of our involvement with her in the past.
Do you know which Indigenous community she's from?
I do, but I'm not prepared to tell you right now, only because, again, it's because of the YCGA right now. Don't want to identify her in the essence that it may affect identifying the suspect.
You mentioned you don't consider it to be random. Do you mind explaining why that is?
I think, generally speaking, when any kind of public encounters an active shooter or an active random violence, it certainly has the capacity to increase fear in the community. In this case, I'm still alarmed. Like I can't say that enough that anything like this happens within the city. But some context here that it was 4 people that looked like they were known to one another.
And was this group like in a business together on a bus? How did police know that the group was together before
So again, piecing it through investigation, a lot of people were spoken to, in and around that. It's a busy place.
Can you comment at all on the type of weapons?
I can't right now, other than, we did report it was a stabbing, so, I don't know that we've recovered the weapon at this point, but it's gonna be some kind of edge weapon.
Did anybody, the scene was outside, so nobody went into the car area in terms of the victim or the suspects. Do you know if that was
So my understanding is that the victim eventually ended up inside, just the inside area of the cargo building. That's where our members encountered her and rendered the first aid.
Did she go into the entrance on her own?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, if you're familiar with that area, the building is right on the sidewalk there, so it's not a big distance to cover.
There was tape up in the back too, though, eh? What was going on?
I'm not sure. I'm guessing that our forensic investigators must have determined that there was some interest in the back as well. The attack itself occurred in front.
We're really limited what we can say about the investigation. Are there any other questions that you want to go?
Other than increasing patrols in the area, are police doing anything else, either in the downtown area or specifically related to this case?
So there are a number of initiatives, and they may not all readily tie in together, but there are a number of things that we're involved in that I think overall address some concerns here in the city. So of course we talked about downtown safety and our increased presence and our partnership with other agencies like the Downtown Community Safety. Those are good partnerships for us to have. We're also involved in a guns and gangs strategy. This one didn't involve guns, but we know that a fair bit of gun violence is occurring in the city, and our initiatives around there about taking guns off the street have been paying off quite well. We do have an Indigenous missing women and girls safety strategy. We work very readily with many of the Indigenous service providers in the city to again do our best to keep these young women out of harm's way. That's been going on for many years. More recently, you've seen us around the malls. Some of the chronic theft that's occurring, and we're also in the midst right now of integrating our missing persons unit so that we're integrated with the RCMP and embedded with some of the social agencies so that we can kind of try to plug some of the gaps that we see, particularly when young women or young girls are transitioning in from remote communities.
I'm wondering, the event occurred Friday afternoon, but it wasn't released until the following, or the Saturday afternoon. Any reason for the timeline between that? Normally, these things get reported fairly quickly.
Well, partly you guys are earlier in the news cycle, and of course she didn't die on the scene. She was treated medically. She ended up succumbing to her injuries later on. There was a fair bit of legwork that was done on that. It hit the next news cycle the following day.
Do just in speaking to people on Saturday, it kind of came up from some people who work and were commuting through the area. Friday, obviously we don't know the circumstances, but it's a school day. Do you have any information in terms of, schooling, where the victim, for example, was it a day off of school? Was she in school? Was it a lunch break?
So all of that kind of stuff, I think, will come out once the investigators have a chance to talk to the other witnesses. I don't have any of those answers right now. It was Friday afternoon. I'm not certain of the status of the victim in terms of school. That is a major bus corridor, so no matter where you're going in the city, there's a good chance you're coming through Graham Avenue if you're traveling by transit.
Can you confirm if police have surveillance footage of the incident?
Can't confirm any of that, and if we did, that would be evidence. So I'm going to leave the investigators to manage that in due course. Once we find out what happened and once charges are laid, some of that will come up.
So all the information that you have just given us today was gathered by speaking to people who are around there, or also cameras?
You can be sure that there was a pretty good canvas of the area, so if there was any video to be had, I'm sure our investigators found it.
Do you know how many times she was?
I do, but I'm not prepared to tell you at the moment. You know, again, it forms part of the investigation, and they've yet to arrest the suspect.
Are you looking into any gang connections?
None that I'm aware of right now. These individuals look like they were together, but I don't know what the context of their relationship was.
A couple more questions.
All right, well, I hope that we have additional information to share with you as the investigation advances, and thank you for your interest.